So a big shout out and thanks to Matt Mullan and Brian Kahl for doing a video so that you can get the teacher's perspective. Because this Edulastic it's really amazing. So Edulastic is really important right now because it is an assessment tool and it is tied to standards. You can track and you can pick from standards, ELA standards, math standards, every grade level, to build an assessment for your students. So this is the Edulastic website. There are a ton of resources for teachers in the website. There's a bunch of trainings listed. I actually took all of those trainings and cut and pasted it into this professional development asynchronous link that your principal sent out to you, which obviously if you're watching this video, you know all about this. So if you go here to other apps, this has all of the different, here's my TechMess stuff. If you go, there's Edulastic. So here's a quick start guide. There's how to assign an assignment. So there's all of these Edulastic produced, like the company produced all these videos. So there are a lot of resources to get you started with Edulastic. But let me just log in real quick. All right, so I am logged in. Matt goes over how to log in with Google too. So, so right here is your dashboard. If you go in there, I'm gonna jump right into my profile. So here is, this says Sarah Hoffman Teacher. A new feature that they just did is where you can switch between accounts. So I can switch to a student view. So I can click that and see how it's student view. And I'm also a district administrator for Edulastic. So I can click to Gabby's. That's the only fake student we have now. And then I can go back to my teacher view. So I've got, here's Gabby's view, and then here is the teacher view. So that is really cool. So if you need Gabby's information, I sent it out an email a while ago, but please feel free to email me. Let's look at the profile. So my profile, because there's a really important setting. If you use Google Classroom integration with Edulastic, I want to make sure that you have something checked here. So see where it says auto share assignments with Google Classroom down here. Please make sure that that is checked on. Matt and Brian go over the dashboard, but there's one thing that I did want to go over real quick is, so you have these item banks, which is you just have a bunch of test questions and you can filter these test questions. One thing, so right now I have it grade 9 computer science. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to click here and then it gives me a drop down menu. I'll just click ELA, 9th grade ELA. And then here are all the standard sets. So I'm going to say ELA, Ohio ELA. So that's Ohio ELA standards. And then the collections. What I would suggest and what the Edulastic rep suggested is that when you are searching items or searching tests, that you just make sure that it's Edulastic certified. These are actually certified that yes, they do cover that standard that they state in here. So they certify those questions. I'm in the question bank right now. So that's got the little question mark, so you know it's a question bank. If you're not sure, you can always go back and pop open that window until you know the icons real well. So that's da. One thing you can do is with the questions, you can search for questions that are on the Ohio's. Oh, where's the apostrophe? There we go. State test. Boom, there we go. So I found 171 items. And then if you want to view the items, you click here to take a look at the items. And these are exactly like the ones the kids are going to see on the Ohio State test. Now, when you search, so these are tests. So these are tests, they're already built tests. So if I type in Ohio's state test in the testing part where I'm looking for an entire test already built and put together, I'm going to get 9. Okay. So we have 9. These are all Edulastic certified tests, and you could preview these and then assign them to your Google Classroom. So this test has 27 questions, and you can just kind of click through and see what it looks like for you. And so that's the questions. You can search for questions, and you can search for an entire test that's all put together, and then you can click assign, and Mr. Mullan goes through this. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Matt Mullan first, and then Brian Kahl second. And of course, if you have any questions, please email me, or we can make an appointment. You can make an appointment with me, and we could dig deeper into Edulastic. All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm going to walk you through signing into Edulastic. This would be what your Edulastic account looks like the first time you log in, pretty much. It's all preloaded by the district. Then I'm going to show you how to assign something, what it looks like on the student end, and then some thoughts on its reporting and the kind of data you can get from it and what maybe you can do with that data for the first time. All right, so I'm at edulastic.com. I click on login, and then I click on sign in with Google, and that will ask me for my WLS account. I use my WLS account, and we have this, and it's going to be populated with all of your different classes, and it might be a little disorganized, whatever. Okay, so I've created a new class in here, and that's ACT Prep, that's separate from my Whitmer ACT Prep class. It's just like an individualized thing where I work one-on-one with some students. So you'll see this additional class in here, and you can do that too if you wanted. You can create new students, you can create a new class, but if you want the classes that you currently teach with the rosters that they have, they are here. All right, so if I want to assign something, over here is the dashboard, and if I expand this, you can see assignments, dashboard, assignments, gradebook, blah, blah. Let's click on assignments. These are all the things that I have actively assigned. If I click on new assignment up in the top right, and then choose from library, there's this massive library of 191,211 pre-built assessments. So here's all these things. I'm going to type in ACT, hit enter. Now it's giving me everything that somehow has been tagged or named with ACT. And then I'm going to change the subject to be, let's go math. Let's go math, just for the heck of it. All right, so math, and they have some ACTs that have been public because the ACT shared them on a yearly basis in like a packet. They're preparing for the ACT packet. So let's go to ACT Math, December 2019, 60 total questions. Actually, let's go to this one. ACT Mathematics Practice Test 2009-2010. All right, I'm going to assign it. And now here, class or group section, I'm going to select my ACT Prep class, that self-created one. You can select the period that you wanted, but my self-created ACT Prep class. And I'm going to assign it to just Matthew Mullan. I created myself as a student. I'm going to assign it to me. I'm going to use this open due date thing because I don't want the test to close out if I finish it. If I don't finish it by the deadline. But if you want a hard deadline, then you can set that up. Then you can play around with it and make mistakes and so on and so forth. So anyway, I've got this open deadline, this flexible deadline where you can submit it afterwards. I'm hitting assign. And there we go. All right, so now I can go to the live class board to see student results, but here is the link to the test, which you can share in Google Classroom if you want, or an email to your class, or you can just trust that the students will see it when they log into their account. So what does their account look like? Well, here is what my student account would look like. So if I click on login, and then I use my student account. This is what I'm presented with. So this one of these is the one I just assigned. Let's say it's this one is the one I just assigned. So I will start this assessment. So I have the three things that were assigned to me. I wish it had a date for when it was assigned. That would be useful, but that doesn't exist. So start assignment, and there we go. Now there are 60 questions. And this is a full-on test. I don't see the answers. I have no way to get the answers. I mean, at least on this screen, I don't have a way to get the answers. I can bookmark things. They bookmark things, I can cross things out, scratchpad, magnify. You can also add in that students have access to a calculator within this web page. Yeah, so there's that. Another thing I want to show you. When you go to assign something, let me go back. So I'm going to assign, new assignment. I am just filling my thing up. So that same one, same test. I'm going to click on assign it to Matt Mullan. Now, if you don't select anything, it'll just assign it to the entire class. But you can also hit select all. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to assign it to just Matthew Mullan, and then use this. Now, right here, this test type. Right now, it defaults to a class assessment. If I change it to a practice assessment, I want you to see what's different about it. All right. So here is the Matt Mullan view of this, and it actually updated without my needing to refresh anything. It updated with a new assignment, and I'm not sure which one is the one. Oh, the one that says P on it. All right. So this is a practice assessment, not a true-on assessment. So what you're going to see that's new up here is check answer. So if I go to answer this for 4 minus -40. So if I go to check my answer, it'll tell me if I'm right or not. So let's say I had chosen that. It'll say that I'm wrong. It won't tell me what the answer is. It'll just tell me I'm wrong. So that's something. You can change it from a full-on assessment to a practice assessment, and they can use it to figure out where their needs are. All right, so that's the view of a student. Now, here's the view of a teacher when a student takes the test. So this is one student who took the test, an English ACT, and the thing that's different about Edulastic is it tells you how much time each question took the student, which that sounds like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's actually really extremely powerful. And the reason why it's extremely powerful is you typically only know what students' needs are based on what they miss. And to figure out if they have needs on questions that they got right requires a long conversation. And now, if I go through here, and this is an English ACT, if I go through here and I look at the time it took the student on each question, 36 seconds is probably the average for a long, I don't know, a question on average should take 36 seconds on the English ACT. 75 questions, 36 seconds per question. So you're going to see a lot of these are under that amount of time. But if it starts to take more, well, what's the deal? Now, this student got it right. This is also a student who gets a 30 plus on the ACT. Can get a 30 plus on the ACT. So why is it that it took him 47 seconds on this one? And it involves dashes and commas, so punctuation. Does he miss questions that involve punctuation? Well, there's another one that took a lot of time. I don't know. What's the story there? That one he missed. It's not a punctuation one. Here's another one that has dashes again. 60 seconds. There's a story being built here. And so here I am in my teacher dashboard where I started. If I go into my ACT prep class and show you a full class's results, I'm going to click on this one here. I think as a teacher, when you get test results back, you tend to look at what students missed, and it can be pretty overwhelming. Like, look at all of the red that's there. Like, where do you begin? But I think Edulastic gives you an opportunity to maybe not for every student, but for maybe this top student. This is my best student on that test. Got the top score of all my students. I think for the first time, it allows me to teach to the top, but in a pointed way, in a smart way, where I can now figure out what is a need that my top student has, and then figure out how to create a lesson around that need that everyone can exist within. Because if my top student needs it, clearly my lower students are going to need it. And so here I am going through just the one result of my top student. I could go through, I'm going back here. If I'm in the main view, it tells me how long each question took the class on average. But I think this, for the first time, gives you the ability to really dig into students that tend to not get a ton of individualized attention, and that's the top student. They tend to get, when you try to teach to the top, I think a lot of times the trap we fall into is just make it a tough lesson. And now you have maybe the ability to identify some needs. Yeah, you can identify needs based on what they miss, but what if this top student who gets over a 30 on the ACT, what if I go through and find the questions that took that student a long time, regardless of them getting it right or wrong? And I think it's that piece that makes Edulastic completely unique. Having time. This one, 46 seconds, dashes involved, which are commas. It's punctuation. This is another punctuation one, 15 seconds. So what made the other one different? And those are the types of questions that I want to start answering as a teacher and then addressing in class to my top students as well as the rest of the class. Oh, one last thing. Edulastic does work on phones. Here it is. It's just like a mobile website. It's not great. I wouldn't use it for English. If you're math, or if these are really quick questions, if it was maybe only 5 or 6 of them, I might do it, but not for a 60 question math ACT. That would be pretty rough existing within here. But it does work on a phone. That's what it looks like. It looks very similar to this, what you're seeing on the screen. Okay, take care.
All right, so Sarah Hoffman asked me to share a few things about Edulastic that I like, things that I've learned. In our social studies department, we use Edulastic quite a bit, so here's a few things that I think are worth noting. First and foremost, your dashboard is something you're going to use a ton, but as you get going, create your own classrooms. So the ones that are colored here, those are my classrooms I created myself. These other ones you can see have no assignments attached to them. Those are the Dr. Bob created classrooms. I do not use those. Tends to be a lot of issues with those, especially as different updates come through. So if you just create your own, link them to Google Classroom, you'll have a lot less issues. So that's some recommendation there. This is probably my favorite feature. As you assign a class an assignment, you can watch them take the test. And it's a beautiful thing. You can actually see how they're doing per question. Obviously, this is a question they struggled on. As you notice that, you can actually make comments to students as they're doing the test, or it's something you can note later on to yourself, or go over this and use this graphic to note where the problem areas are that you want to correct moving forward. The other nice thing is you can see, like, as a student is absent or doesn't take the test that day, you have an option to do what's called redirect. And so if I go to the next page here, you'll see redirect is an option that you select. And if you go back here, there's a little X next to where a student's name would be. You click that box, you go over here, you click redirect, and it gives you a screen that looks like this. And you can do this by individual students, which is typically how I do it. Or you can do an entire class. You're like, okay, we all have to retake this test. Boom, there it is. You can set a new close date, but it's basically a way to reopen a test for somebody, let them take it again. It's really nice if you have an inclusion setting, students that need longer, Maybe you can extend the test or let a retake happen. There's a lot of different things that can happen here that are nice for differentiation as well. So I have found that grading short answer questions on Edulastic is actually really easy, and it's very similar to what you would do if you assign somebody a Google Doc and just had them type on a Google Doc. Students can type in, but the nice feature here is you just enter the grades as you go. You have a spot where you can enter feedback if you'd like. You just click next student and it goes to the next student, and you can go through all of them that way fairly quickly. The other nice thing is you can see how much time did the student actually spend on this question. We all know some students claim, oh yeah, I worked really hard on this. Well, this will tell you per question, and it'll do that with the other questions as well, how much time they're actually spending giving some thought to answering that question. One of the other features here is, you go here, and obviously this is our, there's a little extend button right here, and so this is where you get to see kind of the menu. Make sure that you hit that. It's, until you really get to know these icons, that's kind of an important thing. But finding the tests you've created, we found this to be a little bit difficult. I always find it easier to find the ones I've authored versus ones that are just kind of out there, because you have to be really specific with what the title is. So if somebody's sharing a test among the department, make sure that you know exactly what the title is. If it's American History 2020, America Becomes a World Power, that's a little different, and it's easier to find if you have the exact title. So something to keep track of, but obviously the easiest way to find the test is if it's authored by you or shared with you. The other thing you can do is if you like them, they're also easier to find. They'll show up a little easier in your search as well. So just a couple quick tips. Hopefully those help you. I'm sure Sarah's getting you through all the minutia of the details of actually how to get started, create an assignment, and all those great things. All right. Thank you.